He's an astrophysicist and host of Nova Science Now, which just began its second season on Wednesdays on PBS. Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson. Doctor, let me get this crap out of here for you. Hey, Doc. Sorry for silly comedy. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
I'm so glad to... Oh, look at your tie.
Oh, thank you.
I'm going to ask you about that in a minute. But
I'm ready for you.
First, I wanted to say I'm a fan of yours because I've seen you, and I think this country needs some science stars. And I'm glad to see you blowing up, you know?
Thank you.
Because, you know, when you say scientists, you know, what do people... Who do we have? Like Dr. Stephen Hawking. He's great, but you're a lot smoother on camera.
Actually, I like to say it's the universe that's the star, and I'm a conduit for people to reach it.
Yeah.
That's how I think.
And you're a good one, and I'm glad to see you're getting famous. I saw your show on Mars.
Yeah.
I mean, the object, it's such an inhospitable place. To me, it's such a horrible...
Venis is 900 degrees Fahrenheit, and you would vaporize. So compared to Venus, Mars is balmy, you know, calm and comfortable. I'm just saying.
Well...
Don't buy real estate from this guy.
Yeah, but still not a good reason. I'll give you a great reason not to go to Mars. Bush thought it was a good idea. It's such a, I think it's a colossal waste of resources. It's like Iraq.
Everyone I know who says that going to Mars is a waste of resources gives me too high a number for how much money they think NASA's getting. I say, how much do you think they're getting? On your tax dollar. They say 10%, 15%. It's 1/2 of 1 penny. And you're going to attack NASA for its 1/2 of 1 penny and say it's spending it on the wrong things when that NASA is a force of nature unto itself to inspire a generation to want to become scientifically literate. And one of the greatest problems this nation has today is the absence of science literacy. Wait, and I gotta say, no, wait, no.
Testify. He's testifying.
No, you started this.
See, when you get a black scientist, you get it that. You've never had that before. I love it.
I'm gonna get Bronx on you here. No, so you'd spend all this time talking about the financial crisis, and all I can think of is how much of that could have been mitigated, if not avoided altogether, if the people who were being lent money were mathematically fluent enough to calculate the effect of a variable interest rate on their monthly payments.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have... They wouldn't have accepted the loans.
But
you can't prove a negative, and that's Obama's problem. It could have been worse is not the best slogan for
That's right. No one writes articles about the economy that we don't have because averted measures were taken. But nobody writes that. But Obama should have had a tandem exercise in describing what the economy would have been if it had gone ways that he had not guided it. Then you get to compare what's worse versus what is. Doesn't it require that you're actually making something in order to have job creation?
That's something. And also...
It seems to me that... What are we making today? I don't know. It's made in China.
Federal government takes too much tax revenue today.
From them? The rich pay like as much as the poor. This is like 18%.
Well, I have to ask, what do you mean by too much? Could you quantify that answer?
You can't really say they take too much from the rich.
The
rich in the last 30 years have come on, we know all the statistics
have sucked up the top 1%.
So they drive a Bentley instead of a Rolls? What is the too much tax that you're I just don't know. I don't know. I'm just asking.
Let me show you this picture from Fox News, because it was Obama's birthday yesterday. And look at this. This is he had a birthday party. There was lots of white people there. Tom Hanks was there. Nancy Pelosi was there. This is their headline. Obama's hip-hop barbecue didn't create jobs. Hip-hop. You know who sang? Stevie Wonder and the Marine Corps Band.
Yeah. Hip-hop.
Well, that's real gangster when Nancy Pelosi is swaying to,
He's black. Didn't you notice? He's black. Every chance they get, they want to show you that he's black.
By the way, he's exactly the same amount white, just to clarify the genetics of this. So, with all the verve one can say he's black, you can just as easily say he's white. I just want to clarify. Okay.
So, I want to ask you a question, Doc.
Sure. Oh, by the way, the number trillion got mentioned earlier. I can't let that go without reference. That if you had $1 trillion $1 bills, you can stack them and reach the moon and back 4 times. I just thought you should know that.
Thank you.
Just in case you, that's why I'm here, right?
Yeah.
That's like that.
Sounds like bullshit. I mean, who's going to check?
Prove it. Prove it.
But Congress is considering pulling the plug on the James Webb Space Telescope, which is the successor.
Don't get me started.
No, I want to get you started. This is the successor to the Hubble, and they say it can peer into the universe and maybe see the moment when the universe was born. I don't even know how that happens. But it costs $6.8 billion, which, by the way, the same amount that it cost to be in Afghanistan for 1 month. So either way, we're sinking money into a black hole. But they're pulling the plug on this, and it just says to me, you know, why can't we, and I'm not usually a big supporter of these kind of things, but compared to Afghanistan, compared to the tax cuts for the billionaires,
compared to
it seems like we won't do anything that's for the public good.
Well, first of all, let's clarify what the NASA budget is. Do you realize that the $850 billion, what was it, with the banks?
TARP.
Yes.
Bailout.
The bailout, the bank bailout, that sum of money
could reach Venus.
That sum of money is greater than the entire 50-year running budget of NASA.
Wow.
And so when someone says we don't have enough money for this space probe, I'm asking, no, it's not that you don't have enough money. It's that the distribution of money that you're spending is warped in some way, that you are removing the only thing that gives people something to dream about tomorrow. Do you remember the 60s? You remember the 60s and 70s? You didn't have to go more than a week before there's an article in Life magazine, the home of tomorrow, the city of tomorrow, transportation of tomorrow. All that ended in the 1970s. After we stopped going to the moon, it all ended. We stopped dreaming. And so I worry that decisions that Congress makes doesn't factor in the consequences of those decisions on tomorrow. Tomorrow's gone.
You know what?
They're playing for tomorrow, metaphoric tomorrow, not the literal tomorrow. They're playing for the quarterly report. They're playing for the next election cycle. And that is mortgaging the actual future of this nation. The rest of the world is going to pass us by.
Are you bothered by the income disparity that gets greater and greater in this country? I can't.
I'm terribly.
And you don't think that the policies of the Tea Party contribute to that? I mean, the things that I read.
Bill, you're a rationalist. Since the war on poverty, I think in constant dollars, I think there's a rough number. It's been 10 or 11 trillion dollars spent on today what are welfare programs. And it is not increased, it is not taking people out of poverty.
That is not true.
No. Wait. It's different to say it was 10% poverty then and 10% poverty today from saying who was in poverty then is not in poverty today and is a different demographic that then occupies that spot with a continually moving up population. So that just looking at the raw numbers won't reveal that. So you can't say that it's the same people that have stayed in poverty the whole time.
So not
You're
just
not concerned about Congress?
Well,
I checked these numbers. 57% of Senate, 38% of the House cite law as their profession. And when you look at law is, well, what happens in the courtroom? It doesn't go to what's right. It goes to who argues best. And there's this urge, the entire profession is founded on who the best arguers are.
Right. It's not, a courtroom is not about the truth. It's about that the theory, if I get what you're saying, is that each side argues their version and then the truth somehow emerges.
That's the premise. However, the practice, which, for example, is bred in debating teams, for example, where you know the subject, but you don't know what side you're going to be put on to argue.
Right.
And so the act of arguing and not agreeing seems to be fundamental to that profession, and Congress is half that profession. And I realized this when I was a kid. I was 12, and I said, oh, I wonder what profession all these senators and congressmen were. Law, businessman, law. And I said, there are no scientists. We're the engineers. Where's the rest of life represented here? And so when I look at the conflicts the argumentative conflicts, I just sit back and say, you know, can I buy an engineer, please? Or put somebody, a business person who knows how to make a hard but significant financial decision, because at the end of the day, they got to make their books work.
What about the fact that is the overwhelming consensus of all the climate scientists?
That's not true.
It is true.
No,
yes, it is.
There is no overwhelming.
You're in the bubble, Bob. You're in the bubble. You're in the bubble. You have to shout at the bubble. The only scientist. Now here we have a scientist right here.
I was trying to stay out of that
one. No, wait a second. There's a scientist right here.
You know, historically, there's a saying in the scientific community that every great scientific truth goes through 3 phases. First, people deny it.
Right.
Second, they say it conflicts with the Bible. Third, they say they've known it all along. And so we just have to ask, where are we in this scale of this
conflicts with the Bible.
So
we've actually gone backwards, excuse me. We've actually gone backwards because 20 years ago, Republicans did believe that climate change was happening. They just had a different way to approach it, cap and trade, which is now the Democratic answer. And somehow now the Republicans have moved to, it's a hoax, it's not happening at all.
No,
so how do you explain
what
that?
I have seen is that at the early phases of this, people were in denial of any global warming at all, the naysayers. Then, as the evidence kept building, they said, okay, we accept that the Earth is getting warmer, but humans are not responsible for it. So there's some incremental acquiescence there that no one seems to be talking about. But what I pay attention to is, so if you don't want to believe all the scientists, I have another way for you to approach the problem, and that is you can take your cue from the rest of the animal and plant kingdom. Animals are migrating in different rates. Plants are migrating north that never made it north before because they can now sustain the warmth that is there. They're plants that are getting fertilized earlier than before. The migration patterns have shifted. And so nature is telling us nature already knows the answer to what it is everyone here is arguing about. That's how I get my cues. Are you prepared to put your money where your ideas are?
Absolutely.
Okay, so then you're prepared. So here's the experiment. You take all the scientists who authored these papers, get them to pool their money, and invest in companies that would benefit from global warming. And take all the people who are in denial of global warming, take all their money, invest in companies that would presume there is no global warming. And I predict, you want a prediction? I predict that you will all go broke in the next 50 years.
We've had a space program for a long time, and what we've gotten out of it is Tang and LASIK surgery.
Come on. You know what we got? Wait. You know what we got out of it?
What did we get?
I'll tell you exactly. I'm not even going to list the spin-offs. I could, but I'm not. I'm going to list something else.
List 3.
It transformed the culture of the United States of America in that decade to be one of innovation and discovery. And when you have that as part of your culture, you innovate. And when you innovate, you are responsible for birthing entire new economies that drive your nation's wealth. And during that decade, there were no jobs going overseas because they didn't know how to do what it is we were innovating. When you stop innovating, when you stop innovating, then everybody catches up. And of course the jobs are going to go overseas because in a multinational corporation...
There's lots of ways, to be honest, you can innovate without going into outer space. We've done a lot of innovation.
Wait. It's mankind's fundamental drive to explore. Look at Europe when they sent the explorers across the Atlantic and so I think it's part of a human
There were other
drive.
motives there. I mean, Queen Isabella said, by the way, Columbus, you may be an explorer and a discoverer, but while you're going, take these Spanish flags with you and put them wherever you park ship. So you can have geopolitical drivers for this. That's all I'm saying. What I'd like is a suite of launch vehicles where we can just choose what destination we want for whatever reason that drives it. It could be scientific, it could be touristic, it could be geopolitical. And that way, the solar system becomes our backyard. And to advance the space frontier, you have to innovate when tomorrow you do something that you did not do today. And that's the culture I want to resurrect from that era, the golden era of space exploration.
Okay. All right.